Everyone loves a good mystery, whether that's talking about aliens, conspiracy theories, or stuff going on with the government. There's something about them that intrigues people, including myself. You almost never see a scenario of a unsolved mystery when you're talking about sports, and that's what's going to make this video insanely interesting. I've watched and kept up with a ton of sports in my life. I've never seen anything like this. It's to the point right now where people, even if you explain it to them, they're still confused. This player's own fan base doesn't know what's going on, ESPN analysts don't know what's going on, and people around the country do not know what's going on with this man. Coming out of high school, he was a 5-star recruit who was already being looked at as an NFL prospect for his class. I wouldn't go as too far as to saying he has a golden arm, but this man has some talent that not too many people possess. Going into this season, he was a Heisman favorite and a dark horse for being a first-round pick. But then out of nowhere, he lost the job and nobody knew why or what was going on. It's almost like he disappeared. When I tell you we have a lot, I mean we have a lot of weird and unanswered things to get into in this video. And what makes it also great to me, and even makes for a better story, this mystery is still going on. So without further ado, let's take a deep and detailed look at the mysterious case of JT Daniels. What's good, y'all? Hope you're having a blessed day. This is a double upload. I asked for 400 likes in the first 2 hours of the previous video, and you guys crushed it. Just want to say thanks. Hope you guys enjoy this story or video, and let's continue on. Man, oh man, JT Daniels. If you're a college football fan from the South, especially Georgia, you know it's been a weird season. As odd as things are currently right now, this mysterious case doesn't start this year, it starts at the beginning of his college career. With that being said, let's throw it all the way back to 2015. 2015 is when JT Daniels started playing high school football for Mater Dei High School. Let me tell you something, JT Daniels embarrassed defenses. It was unreal. In his legendary high school career, he passed for over 12,000 yards, 152 touchdowns, and only had 14 picks. What a beast. His completion percentage was 68. He also ran for 557 yards. After having one of the best high school careers you could even dream of, he decided to stay on the West Coast and commit and sign with USC. Heading into USC as a highly touted freshman, he was expected to compete for the job. He didn't just do that, he won the starting job. As a freshman in 2018, it was a bumpy road with a lot of obstacles. USC only finished with a 5-7 overall record. Can you put all of the blame on JT Daniels for their 5-7 record? I don't think so. However, I will say the quarterback will always get all the glory. We know this, and when they're losing, he's going to get all the hate. I'm not going to blame him for all their losses. I will say he didn't help them a lot and he contributed. And by saying he contributed, I'm talking about he contributed to the losses. In that 2018 season where they struggled, his completion percentage was only 59.5. You want to see better than that. He only threw for 2,600 yards, had 14 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. You can make the argument, oh, he's a freshman, chill out. In 2021 and even 2018 at the time, we don't use that freshman excuse anymore. We expect these kids to come in and perform right away. I'm not saying he had to ball out, but we can all agree he should have done a little bit better than that when you look at his high school numbers and what he did there. Even JT Daniels would tell you to this day, his freshman season, it wasn't that good. They call it your freshman season for a reason. You're fresh into college, it's your first year. You got 3 more years after. So heading into 2019, he was expected to win this starting job again, and he did just that. In his first game, he was having a solid performance, not a great, a solid performance, up until he had a season-ending ACL injury. In the game he got hurt, he was 25 for 34, 73 completion percentage, had 200 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. I really felt bad for Daniels when this happened because I related to it 100%. I know what he was feeling. In the first game of my junior season of high school basketball, I had 30 points going into the fourth quarter. When the fourth quarter rolled around, I tore my ACL on the first play. It's devastating. What made it even worse for me and JT in this situation, he was having a good game. And then to put the cherry on top of all that, you put in all these countless hours of blood, sweat, and tears in the offseason to only play in 1 game. I felt bad for JT, but hey, Life's hard. It's going to give you obstacles. It's not what happens to you, it's how you respond to what happens to you. I got to give my man credit. A lot of people were counting him out, and he didn't listen to him. He tuned him out and continued to grind. While JT was rehabbing his knee, he came to the decision to transfer to Georgia. It was somewhat surprising at the time because he was more than likely going to be the starter at USC. Why would he go to Georgia and fight to be the starter? According to him, he did it because he wanted a fresh start, and I respect that. Even though he was going to Georgia, the move at the time, like I said, it didn't make all that much sense. He only said he's been to the Southeast once in his life. JT said he wanted to go there because Georgia and the head coach, Kirby Smart, would do whatever it takes to win. He was also hoping he could be in a similar situation to Joe Burrow when he transferred from Ohio State to LSU. At this current time in our story, we are at the beginning of the year 2020. At the beginning of 2020, nobody had a clue who the starting quarterback would be for Georgia. In that same year, JT wasn't the only transfer. They also got Jamie Newman from Wake Forest, who was supposed to be really good. But early in September, Jamie announced that he was going to opt out of the season to prepare for the NFL. Therefore, JT Daniels was going to win the job unless something happened. The only other person he had to beat down at the time went by the name of Stetson Bennett. Don't worry, we'll touch on Bennett a little later in this video. We have a long way to go. Things are about to get really controversial and interesting quick starting now, so get ready. All throughout the beginning of the 2020 season, JT Daniels was suiting up. However, he wasn't cleared to play. Therefore, Stetson Bennett was the starting quarterback for Georgia. He was playing slightly average and slightly above average. He was good sometimes, but not great. The fans, ESPN analysts, even casuals knew it. Stetson was good enough to lead them to a 10-2 season, but he's not good enough to beat Alabama. Heading into that Alabama game last year, I firmly believe if Georgia had JT Daniels, they would have had a better shot. And what do you know, Stetson Bennett, he really cost them the game. Okay, maybe cost them the game is a stretch, but he threw some costly interceptions that I feel like JT Daniels wouldn't have thrown, and JT also would have made some more plays. Look, let's not beat around the bush. We all love the Cinderella Stetson Bennett story, and he's a great and humble dude. I'm wishing him the best, but he's not a great quarterback, even at the college level. He's going to look great against bums and average teams, but I don't think he's good enough even right now as to when I'm speaking to lead Georgia to a national championship past these big-time dogs. If he does it, I think it's going to be more of Georgia's defense bailing him out. Do I think Georgia is the best team in the country? Yes, and I would say they're my favorites to win the national championship, but that has nothing to do with Stetson Bennett. It's the pieces around him. Alabama won the game 41-24. It wasn't even that close. And the following week, the offense had another ugly performance in a 14-3 win over Kentucky, where Bennett had 2 more interceptions. I would say it was around that time when the fan base was questioning Kirby and saying, yo, why is JT Daniels not playing? Why this case is so mysterious is because Kirby didn't really announce that JT was hurt. He was just letting Stetson Bennett go out there with no explanation. And then what makes it even funnier, he eventually came out and said that JT Daniels is hurt, and nobody believed him. I guess I gotta be honest, I didn't believe him at the time because it didn't make sense for him to let him suit up but not play. If he's hurt, why is he suiting up? JT was asked about it. Here's what he had to say. Wouldn't you rather with your 20-year-old son have a coach that is going to be a little more on the cautious side than rushing you out there? Right there from that quote alone, you could tell that JT, he was okay with waiting. I don't blame him. Anytime you have a serious injury, you don't want to rush out there because then you can really jeopardize your career. Later in that season, finally, JT Daniels got cleared to play, and he showed everyone what Georgia was missing, a great quarterback. He shocked me with how good he was in the short amount of action he got. I remember watching it when it happened. I was thinking to myself, if he would have played against Alabama earlier in the year, they might have won the championship. That's how good Georgia was. Their team didn't look that great compared to Bama and some others because of the quarterback play was so I don't want to say bad, I'd say average. For that 2020 season, he had a completion percentage of 67%, threw for 1,200 yards with 10 TDs to 2 interceptions. Really good. After the season was wrapping up, Georgia fans were finally saying thank you to God because we have finally found our savior, a good quarterback. That's what they've been missing the past 5 to 6 years. No disrespect to Jake Fromm, he was a game manager. I think JT Daniels is elite and he has a ton of potential. Heading into 2021, JT was already getting Heisman love and people saying if he had a good year, he could be a first round quarterback. The fans all over Georgia Georgia were extremely excited because they finally have a quarterback who they can rely on to beat elite teams. At the beginning of the season, everything was relatively smooth, not all too much to talk about. In the first game of the year against Clemson, he was 22 for 30, had 135 yards, completion percentage 73%, had 1 costly interception, 0 touchdowns. That was a defensive game. I would say at least he didn't lose in the ball game. Wasn't the greatest performance, maybe not even a good performance, but first game of the year, you're also playing Clemson. We gave him a pass. The following game against UAB, JT Daniels didn't get to play because he was hurt. The backup quarterback at the time, who is now the starter, Stetson Bennett, came in and lit him up, 10 for 12, 300 yards, 5 TDs, 0 interceptions. Nobody thought too much about this at the time. They were saying, he had a tough game against Clemson, gave him the week off. Not too much to really think about. After taking the week off, in the next week against South Carolina, JT, he lit him up. 23 for 31, 300 yards, 3 TDs to 1 interception. A good performance, maybe his best so far at Georgia. After that, he was almost perfect against Vanderbilt, had 2 touchdowns, $130. Stetson Bennett also put up some good numbers. But now, here's where things get controversial and weird. Heading into a top 10 matchup at the time against Arkansas, who is now nowhere close to a top 10 team, it was a highly anticipated game. There was nothing at all said about JT's health before this game. Everyone anticipated him to start. I actually remember when this happened. I was on my way to the Alabama-Ole Miss game, and I was checking my phone, and Twitter was blowing up asking, why is JT Daniels not the starter? There were some people saying it was a rumor and it's a joke. No, it was real. JT didn't play. It turned out not to be a factor at all. Georgia dominated 37-0. Stetson Bennett, here's what I'm about to say. In this ballgame, he was only 7 for 11, had 70 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Not bad, but he didn't really do nothing. And that right there alone is what somewhat scares me about him, is because whenever they do need him against an elite defense and an elite team, we don't know if he can perform or live up to it. I will give him his credit. He impressed me against Tennessee, but we're talking about Tennessee. That program's 3 to 4 years away from being elite. Can he pull off a great performance, not once, but back-to-back games? Because if Georgia wants to win the championship, he's going to have to do that. In that game, the storyline wasn't Stetson Bennett starting, it was what happened to JT and how long is he going to be out. The injury that held him back in the UAB game, according to 27 Sports, is a ribs and oblique injury. Like I stated, not a big deal. However, it turned out to be a major deal that may be even bigger after this video and later on. After that Vanderbilt game, he literally disappeared for 2 months. He didn't play again until the Missouri game. If you thought it was controversial and strange last year, it's even weirder this year because nobody knows if he was hurt or if Kirby Smart's just rolling with Stetson Bennett at quarterback for now. Why is it so confusing? Because at first it was, okay, we're just going to give JT Daniels some time to recover, and now as to when I'm speaking, JT is healthy and they're saying, you know what, Stetson Bennett's looking like our guy and he's looking good. He's the starting quarterback. He's QB1. And you can't even be mad at Kirby Smart or Georgia. You don't want to fix what's not broke. You want to know what's my biggest concern about this situation? I'm still not sold on the fact that Stetson Bennett can play great in 2 or 3 games in a row against great teams. Georgia fans, don't joke around with yourself. You saw it last year. Stetson Bennett was an average quarterback. But when JT came in, it was like a whole nother team. He transformed the offense. You can say what you want about Stetson Bennett. I do see a little Johnny Manziel and his scrambling ability, and he's quick and elusive, but his arm talent, it's not there. He doesn't have the arm talent to make defenses be honest like JT does. I also understand completely, like we just said, you don't want to fix what's not broke. But I'm going to let you know this. You got to make tough decisions. Clemson was undefeated with Kelly Bryant, and Dabo Swinney still benched him for Trevor Lawrence at the time. Why did he do that? Because he knew Kelly Bryant, he was good enough to beat the average teams, but he couldn't beat the Alabamas. Trevor Lawrence could do that, and ultimately he did. I will go on the record to say, as a college football coach, you would love to have this problem. No matter who you choose, you got a good quarterback. I know it also may appear or seem to some people watching this I'm somewhat hating on Stetson Bennett. I'm not doing that. I'm giving you the truth. He has improved tremendously, and I mean tremendously from last year. He's just not as talented and as elite as some other quarterbacks in my opinion. There's a reason coming out of high school JT was a 5-star recruit and Bennett was a 3-star, or I'm not even sure if he was ranked. I'm wishing Bennett the best of luck, don't get me wrong, Let me ask you guys a question, for those of you that disagree. If your team had to play Georgia, would you be more scared of Stetson Bennett or JT Daniels? For me, I'm not scared of Stetson Bennett. I think we can shut him down. I'd be more scared of JT Daniels. Maybe you're more scared of Stetson Bennett. Let me know what you think in the comment section. I want to share this tweet. I couldn't have said it any better myself. To be clear about the previous post, I absolutely think JT Daniels was the better option, but his body did not allow him to keep the job. It's too late to change the quarterbacks, and Stetson is not the Stetson of old. He absolutely has the talent to lead Georgia to a national championship. I agree with this tweet, but I also disagree. Here's why. The only part I agree with is the fact that it is late in the season, it's almost over, so why would you change the quarterback? In my opinion, you're always supposed to play the best player who you feel like gives you the best shot, and I think that's JT. If you think this isn't a big deal or a controversy, I'm going to show you some tweets that Georgia fans put out there. Right here we have, take Stetson Bennett out please. Another tweet, Bennett not ready for the moment, bring JT in Kirby. Another one, put JT in now. Last but not least, please bench Stetson Bennett. And that was just 4 tweets I found real quick. You can continue to go on and find more. Not too sure what the guy meant by saying Bennett wasn't ready for the moment. He tweeted that about the game against Tennessee. What moment are you talking about? That's a 500 team. It doesn't just stop there. There's also been rumors going around of Kirby Smart even talking about if they do need JT in a game, they're going to bring him in. So let's say they're struggling against Alabama in the SEC championship, they may bring him in the second half. And now you see, I think that's a big problem because when you put him in cold where he hasn't played in 4 to 6 weeks, how can you expect him to perform? Hopefully, and it is expected, he will play a lot in the next 2 weeks to get him ready if they do need him. As an Alabama fan, hey, keep Stetson Bennett in there. I think we got a better shot to beat him than JT Daniels. Let me know what you guys think about that. I'm curious. I haven't seen this much controversy with a player in a while, and Kirby Smart, some of the blame's to him. His own fan base doesn't know if JT Daniels has been hurt over the past 2 years or if he's cleared to play and just simply not playing. No matter how you put it, no matter how you think about it, it's strange and it even hurts my brain to think about it. So I guess you could say the question of the video is, can Stetson Bennett lead Georgia to a national championship or does JT Daniels deserve his job back? Let me know what y'all think about that in the comment section down below. But with that being said, it's going to wrap up this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys learned something. If you're new to the channel, what are you doing? Join the family. Hit that subscribe button and leave a like for more. And as always, let's be great and my peace.